Once upon a time, in a magical forest filled with talking animals and enchanting trees, there lived a curious young fox named Finley. Finley was always eager to explore and discover new things in the forest, but his mother warned him to be careful and stay close to their den. One day, as Finley was playing near the edge of the forest, he saw a glimmer of light in the distance. Intrigued, he cautiously approached the source of the light and discovered a beautiful crystal hidden among the rocks. As he picked up the crystal, he felt a strange energy coursing through his body, and he knew that this was no ordinary crystal. Excited by his discovery, Finley decided to keep the crystal a secret and show it to his friends later. But as he made his way back to his den, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He quickened his pace, and soon he heard the sound of rustling leaves behind him. He turned around, but no one was there. Unsure of what to do, Finley continued on his way, wondering who or what could be following him. As he walked, the feeling of being followed grew stronger. Finley's heart began to race as he imagined all sorts of scary creatures lurking in the shadows. He looked around nervously, trying to spot anything out of the ordinary, but the forest appeared to be as peaceful as ever. Just as he started to relax, he heard a soft voice calling out to him. "Hello, little fox. What brings you to this part of the forest?" Finley spun around to face the owner of the voice and saw a wise old owl perched on a nearby branch. The owl's eyes twinkled with curiosity as he looked at Finley and the crystal in his paw. Finley hesitated for a moment before answering, still unsure if he could trust the owl. But there was something about the owl's gentle demeanor that put him at ease, and he found himself telling the whole story of his discovery. The owl listened intently, nodding thoughtfully as Finley spoke. When he finished, the owl smiled and said, "You have a very special gift, young fox. But with great power comes great responsibility. You must use this crystal wisely and protect it from those who would misuse its power." Finley felt a sense of pride wash over him at the owl's words. He had always wanted to be special, and now he finally was. But he also felt a weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He knew that he had to keep the crystal safe, and he wasn't sure if he was up to the task. The owl seemed to sense his doubts and said, "Do not worry, little one. You are not alone in this. There are others who will help you on your journey. You just have to keep your eyes and heart open." With those words, the owl took off into the sky, leaving Finley to ponder what he had said. Who were these others that would help him? And what kind of journey was he embarking on? Finley had so many questions, but he knew that the answers would reveal themselves in time. For now, he had to focus on keeping the crystal safe and being open to whatever adventures lay ahead. The days passed, and Finley went about his life as usual, but with a newfound sense of purpose. He kept the crystal close to him at all times, and he remained vigilant for any signs of danger. One day, as he was exploring the forest, he stumbled upon a clearing he had never seen before. In the center of the clearing stood a group of animals, all gathered around a tree. They were singing and dancing, and their joyous laughter filled the air. Finley was hesitant to approach them at first, but his curiosity got the best of him. As he drew nearer, the animals noticed him and beckoned him to join them. Finley was hesitant at first, but the animals were so friendly and welcoming that he soon found himself caught up in their merriment. As they danced and sang, Finley noticed that they all wore necklaces with crystals similar to his own. He couldn't help but feel a sense of kinship with these animals, and he knew that he had finally found the others the owl had spoken of. He smiled to himself, wondering what other adventures awaited him on this journey. The animals in the clearing welcomed Finley with open arms, and he spent many happy days with them, sharing stories and learning about their own adventures. Each of them had a unique tale to tell, and Finley found himself fascinated by their experiences. As he spent more time with his new friends, Finley began to realize that the crystal he had found was not just a simple bauble, but a powerful tool that could be used for good or evil. The animals in the clearing had all used their own crystals to help others and make the forest a better place, and Finley knew that he too had a responsibility to use his own crystal for the greater good. With this new sense of purpose, Finley set out on a mission to use his crystal to help those in need. He started by healing a sick rabbit, and soon he was using his crystal to help animals all across the forest. News of his deeds quickly spread, and animals from far and wide came to seek his help. Finley had never felt more alive, and he knew that he had found his true calling. As he helped those in need, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction and contentment that he had never known before. He knew that he still had much to learn and many challenges to face, but he was ready to face them all with the help of his friends and the power of his crystal. As time passed, Finley's reputation grew and his deeds became known far beyond the forest. One day, a group of animals from a nearby village came to him with a request. Their village had been struck by a terrible drought, and their crops were failing. They begged Finley to use his crystal to bring rain to their land. Finley was hesitant at first. He had never tried to control the weather before, and he didn't know if he was capable of such a feat, but he also knew that the villagers were in desperate need, and he couldn't bear to see them suffer. So he agreed to help them. He traveled to the village and met with the village elders. They showed him their barren fields and dry wells, and Finley knew that he had to act fast. He closed his eyes and focused all his energy on the crystal around his neck. At first, nothing happened. But then he felt a stirring in the air around him, and he knew that he had tapped into the power of his crystal. Slowly but surely, the clouds began to gather in the sky, and drops of rain began to fall from above. The villagers cheered as the rain fell, and Finley felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. He knew that he had used his powers for good, and that he had made a real difference in the lives of these animals. But he also knew that his journey was far from over, and that there were still many more challenges and adventures ahead of him. After the successful rainmaking, Finley decided to continue his journey through the forest to discover more about the power of his crystal. He bid farewell to the grateful villagers and set out on the path ahead. As he walked, he pondered the mysteries of the crystal and its potential to bring goodness to the world. The sun was setting over the treetops, and the sky was turning to a deep shade of orange. Finley knew that he would have to find a place to rest for the night soon. Just then, he heard a soft rustling in the bushes ahead. He paused and listened, and soon he heard it again. It sounded like a small creature in distress. Without hesitation, Finley followed the sound and found a young squirrel caught in a trap. The squirrel was trembling and whimpering, unable to free itself from the trap. Finley approached slowly, trying not to scare the squirrel, and examined the trap. It was a simple contraption, but the metal jaws were tightly clamped around the squirrel's leg. Finley knew that he had to act fast. He closed his eyes and focused all his energy on the crystal. He chanted softly, and a soft blue light began to emanate from the crystal. The light enveloped the trap, and to his amazement, the metal jaws began to loosen. Finally, the squirrel's leg was free. The squirrel hopped away, giving Finley a grateful look before disappearing into the undergrowth. Finley smiled to himself, feeling the satisfaction of having helped another creature in need. He knew that he was just getting started, and that there were many more creatures in the forest who needed his help. As Finley continued to travel through the forest, he encountered many more creatures in need of his help. He used his crystal to heal sick animals, mend broken homes, and even stop a raging wildfire. And as he helped more and more creatures, his reputation grew until he became known as the Forest Guardian. Years passed, and Finley grew old. He knew that his time in the forest was coming to an end, but he was content knowing that he had made a difference in the lives of so many creatures. He spent his final days sitting under the trees, watching the animals come and go, and reflecting on his long and fulfilling life. And when it was finally time for Finley to say goodbye to the forest, he passed the Forest Guardian's crystal onto a young squirrel who had shown great kindness and bravery. The young squirrel was honored to receive the crystal and vowed to continue Finley's legacy of helping those in need. And so the Forest Guardian's crystal was passed down from generation to generation, a symbol of hope and kindness that would never be forgotten. The forest creatures continued to look to it as a source of inspiration and guidance, knowing that the legacy of the wise old squirrel would live on forever.